Welcome back to the Talking Hedge. I'm Josh Kincaid, capital markets analyst and host of your Cannabis Business Podcast. Today, we're going to talk about a headset report about trends in the industry during the Christmas season, during the holidays. On the line with us to discuss all of this is Dan Kimmis with Good CBD Products.
Ho, ho, Chronic, I do dig Christmas. Oh, yes, I do.
And so how do the holidays affect cannabis sales? We're going to look at some data from Hedge, one of our favorite data analytics companies. And so do the holidays really help? Well, yes, with some caveats. While 7/10 doesn't make a noticeable impact on sales or growth, both the winter holiday season and the week around 4/20 see significant gains in both, which is good news for retailers. Christmas saw a week-over-week growth boost around 15%, while 4/20 was close to 25%. Total sales for 4/20 were well over $100 million across Colorado, Washington, Nevada, and California. However, all that spending comes with a bit of a holiday hangover. While sales stayed relatively steady in the weeks following those two major holidays, growth tumbled. Sales shrunk about 10% following the winter holidays, while the week after 4/20 saw an equal and opposite reaction to the day itself, with about 25% lower growth. While this doesn't mean that luring in holiday shoppers and doing big 4/20 discounts is pointless, more cannabis was sold because of the holidays overall, and they're great opportunities to bring in first-time customers. It does suggest that the holidays aren't always the mint some make them out to be. And so we've got a graph right here that talks about total sales and week-over-week growth, and there's bumps, obviously, during these holidays. And just like the report said, the following week kind of makes up for that in the lack of sales, but it is a good opportunity to get people in to see what's going on.
Right, if you think about it, what's funny is, okay, for Christmas, somebody gives you a fat sack, and then somebody else gives you a fat sack, and then somebody else gives you some pre-rolls, Chronic. Well, then you don't need to go to the weed store for a little bit, do you?
Right, exactly. But it is nice to kind of see what the sales are, because we've always seen that those sales equal the average daily sale 2 to 3 years later. So 4/20 sales, in 2016 are now the everyday sale at a discount retailer like Uncle Ike's. So seeing what some of these prices are is a good indicator into the future of what your price point needs to be. And if you can't profit from those sales, you might want to think about what you're doing, find another SKU, find a cheaper alternative.
Find a different business.
Yeah, next year is going to be the year of consolidation. We've got a podcast coming up about the crystal ball prediction, 2020 and beyond, and a lot of that is consolidation. So I would expect a massive pain point in 2020 and 2021 to be a serious amount of consolidation. And so discounts do affect sales. Taking the same total sales data and cross-referencing them with the average discounts give us a pretty clear picture of when the deepest discounts come and how well they work. Unsurprisingly, retailers knock off the most on 4/20, cementing the status as the cannabis industry's Black Friday. Products were on average about 14% cheaper on 4/20 this year, and retailers were rewarded with their generosity with a little over $20 million in sales than a typical day in the same season. Somewhat ironically, the real Black Friday sees even deeper discounts than 4/20, but the result is almost a non-significant sales bump. So sales that week were barely higher than the week before. So in regards to Christmas and winter holidays, discounts are higher than average, but not by much. However, the industry still enjoys a noticeable increase in total sales for the week just before Christmas. Cannabis consumers, perhaps living up to their stereotypes, appear to be last-minute shoppers.
Hey, I've got an idea.
What's that?
Give the gift of weed.
As it should be. I would definitely load up on ounces. You see $30, $40 ounces. I would load up on that, and edibles, whatever you can get with a long shelf life. I would definitely look at some of that. But it is interesting, though, that 4/20 saw the same amount of sales, and yet people didn't really go in. And so maybe the consumers are more aware of their own holidays rather than regular holidays. But just like a Headset and Nielsen report showed for 4th of July, traditional holidays do not equate to cannabis holidays yet. So, and I think this is a perfect example. Black Friday doesn't equate to cannabis sales, but 4/20 does. And 4/20 is much bigger than 7/10. I would say that 4th of July is a bigger sales day than 7/10 in and of itself. So more normalization, I think, is what we can expect.
No, 7/10 takes you 15 minutes to explain to somebody, right? 4/20, they know what's going on. It's pretty funny. This last week, I've had 2 different retailers I was dealing with already talking about their 4/20 plans. So, I mean, it's significant in our industry.
I have also made my plans for 420, trying to schedule 20 stops on 420 as we've done in the last 3 years, trying to make it official with a tour and a guide and do some media, some interviews, make a big splash. So stay tuned for that. You've got a couple of months to put that on your calendar. So we're looking at 420 with more purchases and lower price. So to further illustrate how discounts work on different holidays, Headset has combined the average item price, total basket averages, and the average number of items per basket into one chart. So at a glance, you can see that 420 has lower prices, lower totals, and more items per basket. The name of the game is volume. Retailers are likely depending on a loss leader and bulk discounts to drive sales, and maybe also hoping to entice customers into trying some new things. Christmas, conversely, is much closer to the year-to-date averages, with only about $1 increase in total baskets and a little less than the dollar drop in the average item price. So besides the aforementioned sales bump, Christmas week is like any other week, really. It may be that retailers don't have to do much to get customers in the door because last minute gift shopping does it for them. So it looks like holiday basket analysis, you're looking at 420 average price is $2.94. And then the Christmas week is $2.25. And so there is a little bit of a price drop.
It's funny, I was talking to a retailer last week who said one of the things they like about Christmas is they're a very good last-minute gift because there's not that much pressure on the store. It's easy for somebody to run in and out, and, you know, enough percentage of folks enjoy the seasonal holiday that it works out, right? And it makes sense. You're there, you're like, oh my God, I got to get something for Chronic. We've got that Secret Santa thing. I know. And go get you a nice half or something, right?
I'm going to be interested to see how cannabis normalizes as a reference to the alcohol industry. You see a lot of the liquor shops put in packaging, so they'll bundle it. They'll put in liquor with glasses, with collectibles, with all these things, and liquor sales skyrocket during Christmas time because of the discounts, because of the bundling, because of the free giveaways. And so if the cannabis industry does something similar to that, they might do something like the power hitter, which is this really kind of novelty where you just put in a pre-roll into the tip, you screw the tip onto this container, and then just squeeze the lit pre-roll inside. Smoke will come out the top, and it is a hands-free way of smoking, a novelty way of smoking a joint. I tried it. Surprisingly, a couple minutes into it, it didn't taste dirty or like an ashtray. It was a clean hit every single time. So I'm going to try this again, having got this just recently at MJ BizCon. And then another thing you might want to take a look at is this Twiz dispenser. You can get this at 420 wholesale pack. So this little item here is a alternative to the syringe. So you can have your Rick Simpson oil, you can have anything in here, and you can use just one hand to twist the tops, which is nice if you have multiple sclerosis, arthritis, whatever. You don't have to really push that hard. It doesn't look like a syringe, so that's nice, but it does have the little top on there, so you can just dab that. So this is kind of a nice little applicator, kind of looks like a chapstick or lipstick, whatever. And so this is a nice alternative to a syringe that I would like to see some of the companies start using, but it is all about discounts at the end of the day. So examining discounts by day of the week, we see that retailers knocked the most off on actual days of 420. Cannabis was 17% cheaper on average on the Saturday that 420 fell on this year, with no real variation in discounts in the day prior. There were slightly fewer discounts the day after. Perhaps the retailers get a holiday hangover too, but most of the discounts and most of the sales fell on 420. So the fact that it was Saturday, which is already one of the biggest days of the week for cannabis sales, that probably helped too. And it's worth noting that the Friday before 20 enjoyed solid sales as well. So indeed, if we look at Christmas, almost all of the extra sales can be attributed to the normal weekend rush rather than any special discounts. So while discounts were up 14% on Christmas Eve, it didn't result in higher sales. So the Friday and Saturday of the week, however, did see higher sales than other weekdays as per usual. So there's a possibility that rather than gift giving and being responsible for a high winter holiday sales, people could be simply consuming more because they aren't at work.
You know, it's funny. I literally use data that we've gleaned from the show to guide my scheduling approach and such when I'm out in the field. So I dig it, Chronic. More data. I love it.
Yep. Fridays are a big day. Saturdays are even bigger. If A holiday lands on one of those days, you're going to see even more sales. So that's pretty normalized. What are some of the best sellers? We all know that people are buying more pot on the big day, but what's really interesting is what they're buying. So judging from the data, it's exactly what you'd expect for a holiday, so rooted into stoner tradition, which is to say things that were part of cannabis culture before legalization, like edibles. Flower obviously enjoys a huge boost, more than doubling its sales. The fact that vape pens and concentrates also see double or nearly double sales doesn't necessarily negate the traditional methods, as 420 is a holiday sales rooted in smoking with your friends. For many people, especially younger people, passing a vape is the same as passing a joint. Speaking of joints, pre-rolls are part of the 420 phenomenon, enjoying a 90% increase in sales. What's somewhat surprising is that beverages are apparently part of the festivities now. So while the category is still very, very small overall, it actually enjoyed a largest increase of sales on 420. So you had close to 15 million in sales in flower, going all the way down to beverages. Really, really small sales, but apparently an uptick in percentages, almost 150% increase.
I was talking to a beverage company salesperson. We think that that's more novelty than anything else, right? Where it's like, okay, yeah, today I'll have a beverage. I don't know if it's sustainable, brother. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, edibles kind of seem like a Friday night thing. So the fact that they're more potent, they last longer, it seems like a Friday night weekend type of deal. So I don't know when they're buying it, if they're consuming it same day. But we do see beverages have a higher increase on Fridays and holidays, but obviously still a small amount in terms of overall dollar sales. I would expect that trend to continue, especially as more options come online. There isn't even coffee like cold brew or regular to-go coffee. They have K-Cups, but K-Cups is not coffee. And if you like K-Cups, I'm sorry, it's not real. I don't know what you're drinking, but it's not coffee. So here's some Christmas categories. While the daily sales and discount numbers suggest that people are buying according to their normal patterns around Christmas, the category data shows some interesting aberrations. So mostly that while flower enjoys a slight increase in sales, it's very, very slight. Typically, if people were partying more while they were off work, they'd gravitate towards flower and other inhalable products. Instead, we're seeing a large sales bump for edibles and topicals, suggesting that some people are having infused versions of their holiday sweets. And so what's a better stocking stuffer than a 1-to-1 CBD to THC lip balm? Interestingly enough, beverages enjoy a sales boost of similar proportions to edibles. So it could be because people are also replacing their nog with 5 milligrams of soda. It could be evidence that as many brands are hoping the non-drinking cannabis consumers are gravitating towards beverages in situations that involve a lot of social pressure to drink alcohol. So I think we've talked about how you get through in-laws and then the Christmas season and everything else. And one of the things was edibles. Here's a pro tip for you. If you are going to go to a cannabis expo like MJ BizCon, edibles are the way to go. Transdermal patches are nice if you're standing 8 hours a day, but honestly, anywhere from a 5 milligram to a 25 or 50 milligram edible is the pro tip. So that definitely helped me more than anything else. I wouldn't necessarily have, an edible drink, but just maybe some mints here and there to kind of pop as the day goes on was my definitely saving grace to make it through MJ BizCon.
All right. If you get one, I get one. I horse some infused pre-rolls through security, and that was my way. So everybody has their way, Chronic.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and some people are doing it with beverages, apparently. 'Tis the season for edibles. Among those edibles, what are people buying? If we look at the category segments, we see a lot of the same treats that we're used to seeing during the holidays. You have candy, lozenges, gum, chocolates, caramels, chews, taffies. They all enjoy high sales and definitely see an increase for the winter holidays. But it's mints, cookies, brownies, blonde cereal bars that see the biggest sales increase. So forgive the obvious joke, but Santa's probably gotten some very special cookies for the troubles in the past few years. So while some categories are clearly more seasonally appropriate than others, it should be noted that every segment enjoys over 30% increase in sales. So you're looking at the pre-Christmas week edible segment by sales growth for Washington State, and you're looking at candy, that's about 38% more. Cookies have a 50% increase. in sales. So looking at holiday shopping hours, data on which hours enjoy the most sales tell a somewhat counterintuitive tale, which is that customers came in early on 420 than they do during the winter holiday season. Sales peak from 420 from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m., while the busiest hours during the week before Christmas are 1 to 4. So for both holidays, however, sales are generally high early. So by 5 p.m., average sales for 2019 year to date have taken sales on both 420 and during Christmas. That would fit into a couple of narratives. One being that people are coming in early on the 420, intending to consume their deeply discounted goods that same day. So that makes a lot of sense given that most discounts are offered on the day and that consumption on 420 is a big part of that ritual. So it was also on Saturday this year, meaning that people were maybe grabbing a pre-roll before heading out for day hikes, picnics, or any other experiences that are so greatly enhanced by cannabis. That also fits with the second narrative, which is that people tend to buy earlier in the day when they're not working. So it makes sense that people would meander in around early afternoon during the winter holiday break, as laying around the house all morning eating pastries is also a popular holiday activity for families of any religion. I definitely would agree that 420 is all about the early sales because they only, just like Black Friday, there's only a certain amount of ounces that are $30. And then when supplies run out, it's over. So I think that's really why people go in, is to get those super steep discounts on 420. So let's interpret if Dab Day really is a thing. The idea of 710 as a special holiday is met by sneers with some who see it merely as a marketing ploy than a real holiday, but the data seems to indicate that it does resonate with the dabbing community. So dabbing is a consumption method that involves heating concentrate products until they vaporize and inhaling a significant dose all at once. It also has its own subculture around it, complete with rituals, etiquette, YouTube channels. So the data suggests that dabbers are in fact showing up for 710. So they mentioned earlier that they don't see a huge sales boost in early July. However, looking closer at category sales on the day itself, there's a noticeable uptick in concentrate sales. Sales of concentrates, oil, wax, shatter, and so on shot up 40% that day, with vape pens enjoying a bit of a coattail growth. With such a noticeable uptick in concentrate sales specifically, with no huge change in total sales for the day, it's reasonable to assume that a small but enthusiastic group of dabbers is driving the phenomenon. You can see that 46% increase from concentrates alone, totaling over $6 million. Totaling over $2 million for concentrates on that day. Flower is still enjoying the most at $6 million, but a lower percentage, actually a decrease in percentage of growth on that day, where most people go to oil. Obviously 710 spells oil upside down. So some key takeaways: 420 is far and away the biggest day for cannabis sales, but it's balanced out by nearly equal slump shortly after. The gains on 420 are made most exclusively via volume sales as prices fall sharply, while basket sales and the total number of item basket sizes rise. Discounts definitely drive sales on 420, but the same phenomenon doesn't translate to Christmas. 420 is very much a smoker's holiday, although plenty of smokers are switching to vape pens and adding concentrates to the mix. Beverages are becoming a part of the 420 phenomenon. Single day sales is the highest of any other category. And for Christmas, the most popular category are sweets. Sweet treats, alcohol alternatives, stocking stuffers, like edibles, beverages, topicals. Within that edibles category on Christmas, segments like mints, cookies, brownies, they all see the most growth. And bigger edible segments like candy, lodges, gum, chocolates, caramels, they see less explosive growth, but a significant chunk to their total sales that day. Chocolates are the best performing of all top three segments, with a 41% increase in sales. People bought very early on 420 this year on a Saturday, suggesting an eagerness to get discounted products before the day's activities. Holiday shoppers bought earlier than normal, with peak hours being between 1 and 4. Both holidays saw slower sales in the evening, with year-to-date averages overtaking them around 5 p.m., the average work hours being more popular when people are working. And 710 isn't affected overall sales just yet. There's a very significant spike in concentrate sales on that day, suggesting that enthusiasts are showing up for it.
Yeah, I got one more for you. I think also the ongoing data around vaping is going to impact a lot of this, at least those products, right, as we work forward.
There is a lot of information about vaping right now, and so I think we're going to find out next year if the Vape
Right.
debacle is kind of extended to the sales because it's not just the vitamin E acetate. It's also about the hardware, because the hardware can have lead leaching into your body, causing additional issues. So I think there's going to be a lot of changes to vaping products. I myself am going to hold back until I can get better hardware and have a better understanding of how that affects my body. So I'm definitely going to stay away from vaping for now.
Right. And you can't be the only one, right? So in the end, I guess that's my point with regards to our data there is I really do. I think those numbers are going to end up impacting that whole sheet there.
Mm-hmm. 2019 is coming to an end. So here's some predictions according to Headset. It's safe to say that 420 phenomenon isn't going away anytime soon. Data focuses on this year's sales trends as they're nuanced, but the sales boost has been going strong for the last 4 years now. Figuring out how to harness 420 will be a key as retailers run the risk of getting bogged down in a discount frenzy that doesn't actually make them money, which is fine, of course, but only if it results in new customers. Savvy cannabis companies, retailers, manufacturers alike will use 420 as a time to grow their customer base and introduce people to new products. The Christmas season is still a bit of an enigma for the cannabis industry, it seems. While there's evidence that cannabis products are being given as gifts, it's not quite enough to say it's a mainstream Christmas gift yet. The boost in edible sales is likely attributed to people who already enjoy Christmas, replacing their holiday sweets with infused items. However, winter holiday marketing should not be overlooked as cannabis is becoming more mainstream every year. It's conceivable that a top shelf vape cartridge could become a gift item in the same way a bottle of scotch is. However, in the near term, it's clear that there's a special interest in edibles around Christmas, and thus there could be a decent market for Christmas-themed products in that category. I would probably attribute that to the fact that it doesn't smell. You're probably not going to have glossy eyes. Your family isn't going to know that you're high, but you're able to deal with them.
My family's going to know I'm high chronic. They will.
Yeah, by default. So as for 710, it's not quite a thing yet, but it's something worth paying attention to for anyone making concentrates. So the concentrate consumer tends to be a millennial and Gen Z, but they also tend to be serious cannabis enthusiasts. So the data confirms that they're showing up on Dab Day, giving how similar the holiday 710 is to 420. Cannabis companies will likely find some success offering targeted discounts on concentrate products on the day, if only to introduce the diehard dabbers to something new. So overall, we can expect holiday sales to continue to be big days and big weeks for the cannabis industry, especially as cannabis consumption becomes more mainstream. The number of people who are California sober, they don't drink, but they do use cannabis. It's growing. They seem to be eager to replace holiday libations with cannabis. The growth in beverage sales certainly speaks to that. But even among people who do not drink and consume cannabis, mainstreaming will mean that more sales on that holiday. So besides the obvious factor of having lots of time to spend being merry with your friends and family, people who are new to cannabis will eventually get caught up to the 420 hype. While they may not be interested in cannabis in the days when 420 was a cool subcultural code word, they won't be able to ignore the discounts. All right, so you just kind of have to use the holidays to get people in, get new customer base, introduce them to new products, show them what's going on. And every single state that's gone online has shown a massive amount of people leaving opioids and alcohol and going to cannabis. So it's frightening the industry of big tobacco, big alcohol, big pharma. And then with the cannabis industry, it's a little bit of a competition. I think we're seeing massive amount of competition as prices come down, trying to get new customers in, and a lot of those companies won't be around. So discount now, trying to stay in business tomorrow. So don't be a Scrooge. Make sure you leave something for Santa Claus and come back to the Talking Hedge. With that, we're going to roll this one up. I'm Josh Kincaid. This is the Talking Hedge. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, or don't, and I'm out. By the way, if you enjoy the content, please show your support with the cushy gesture of $4.20 a month on the Talking Hedges Patreon page. This will kind of help you spread the word. I've been asked to speak all over the world, from Toronto and Colombia, Spain, Miami, all over, Tokyo. but your support's important to me. I haven't monetized the podcast. I want to be as authentic and transparent as possible. I want to avoid conflicts of interest or even the perception of paid opinions. So don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, or pay me on the Talking Hedges Patreon page, or don't, and I'm out.